Say Shana, Africa, say it louder. Say Shana. Salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
United we stand, divided we fall. All we need is freedom. All we need is love. Free Africans free. Free Africans free.
Be free, be free, free from slavery. Free, be free, be free, free from slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, free yourself from mental slavery. Free, be free, be free, free from slavery. Be free, be free, free from slavery. Yeah.
We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war.
Salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum, assalam alaikum, salam alaikum, assalam alaikum. Audience, please. Assalamu alaikum, African one. If you wanna be free, the most simplest wall in the world. Get yourself developed with the reggae music coming straight to you from the one of the most peaceful man. So many lying down on the streets, whatever them with their guns in the hands. Get yourself the most free time. I preach about freedom. Preach about freedom.
We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war.
Better look on the street, I say listen, youth. Stop violence, I say listen. You have to listen and be a man. The music we are doing is not a music for fun. We are. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you tune in. This is Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. It's live. It is September 21st, 2023. As we promised that actually our topic of today will be doing more analysis on a speech that President Kiir has given at the UN General Assembly today. And also we'll be focusing on his new war that actually wages against the Anyuak community in Pochalla, particularly in that region. So I will have a guest here momentarily, Omot Ujok Utor. He's from the region. He will join me from the region and to discuss more about the issues, the war that actually President Kiir has waged against the people of Anyuak. So I welcome all of you, my viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan, wherever you tune in. أهلا ومرحبا بكم في حلقة خاصة من برنامج Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. أنا نركز اليوم على الخطاب الذي قدمه السيد الرئيس سلفا كير مياديت أمام الجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة اليوم في نيويورك. وأيضا سنناول الحرب الجديدة الذي يشنه الرئيس كير على مجتمع أنيواك في منطقة Fashala. With that, I wanted to welcome my guest to the studio, and later I will have other guests also will join me via Clubhouse, and some of them also they are joining from the YouTube. And I wanted to remind you before I start, discussion here, to go ahead and like our page and go ahead and share the video because there are so many people who are not aware that we are live today. So please go ahead and do that. Give us a favor so we can spread the message to all South Sudanese across the globe. With that, I would like to bring Mr. Umot Ojuk Otor is from the region, as I said. The new war that President Kiir has waged to Anyuak people. I want to go to the bottom of it, and I want Unyok actually to set up the scene. What happened exactly, Unyok? We have heard that actually there is gunship, chasing away the civilian from the area, and we also hear that there is a former active, commander on the area has been killed. His name is Joseph Ukuny. This news, I want you to set up a scene, Ujuak, and welcome Umot, and welcome to Concerned Citizen South Sudan. Please, the podium is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Jonkor, for having me on the Concerned Citizen of South Sudan House. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to the Revived South Sudan Party for standing with my people in solidarity in this situation and for helping them reaching this violence that is committed by government of South Sudan to reach international community. And I would like also to thank my friend who have been with us in these four days that the war has been ongoing. So first, I'm by name Motu Jokotor, exactly as you have already said, and I'm from Pochalla. So let me share with you the genesis of the violence that has made to our people in Pochalla. So yes. Of course, it was on Sunday that the former area commander for Pochalla, Joseph Okony, who was assigned by the South Sudan government to come and work in Pochalla as the area commander for these people, was assassinated by the currently area commander by name called Achula Yi and his South Sudan People Defense Force. It was on Sunday morning that. Can you hear me?
Is it Achula Yat or Achula Yi?
Achula Yi.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was on Sunday. He sent some South Sudan People Defense Force and assassinated General Joseph Okony in his front of family and also in front of community. And not Okony alone, they have also shot at so many people, and they have shot one woman and dead. So on Monday, on 18th of September, they have also opened the guns against the civilian in the community. So the youth decided to respond to them. So this is where the problem has exactly started. So the war has gone on for at least 5 hours. So it was in the afternoon of Monday that the government of South Sudan has sent a helicopter to bomb the civilian in Pochalla, and exactly they have sent it, and they have bombed people. So, and it ended there. On Wednesday again, they have sent 2 helicopter gunships to the Pochalla and also bombed civilians, burned houses, and also around 21 children have drowned in a Kobo River because they couldn't able to swim, and they have killed so many civilians. And behind that, it is not only the assassination of Okuny that led the SPLM to port the civilians and also send helicopters. There was something behind it. As you can see, we were under Jonglei state before. So by the time the BDAWIO was given a state, we were taken apart from Jonglei to GPAA. So, and we have been with the GPAA. So our being under GPAA government, we didn't get a freedom there. Children were abducting, cattle riding, killing innocent children, moving from village to village. So we decided to send a letter to President Kiir demanding exit from GPAA or going back to Jonglei state or given a state. So by the time Joseph Okony was brought to Pochalla to work as the area commander, the letter has been already written to Kiir demanding exit. So government of GPAA accused Joseph Okony of standing with the community in the letter that was sent to president. And they have sent a shield So to assassinate Okuny, and of course, Achul succeeded as he assassinated Okuny, and he opened a fire on civilians. So this is where the problem is. And in fact, you know that we the Anyuak has no any problem with the government of South Sudan. We don't have any problem at all. We have been with them, seen Anyanya once, and we didn't get into troubles. It was the problem from Greater Pibur administrative area plus the problem of South government of South Sudan that led civilians to have a conflict with the South Sudan People Defense Force. And of course, you know, Pochalla is the most neglected county in South Sudan. So by this now, as we are speaking now, in this light of violence, thousands of people have already fled to the border, Ethiopia. They have already fled across the border to Ethiopia because of the war that has happened between government and civilians. And of course, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It doesn't happen for the government to send gunships to bomb its citizens, if not only in South Sudan. And behind that, we know very well that as we the Anyuak, we have no problem with the government of South Sudan. It was the problems of GPAA and the PIF and Anyuak. Why did the government of South Sudan involve if there is no region behind it? Now, so many youth have already lost their lives. Wounded are still there in Pochalla. We have no hospital taking them for the medications. They are still there now with their wounded. So many children are now in the bush. Some were missing. They have separated from their mother because of the bombardment that was sent by the government of Kiir. And this one, there is no doubt that government of Kiir is failing. And they did this because people are toward election. They want to use this mechanism saying that Anyuak has already offered a fire against a government of South Sudan. So we are not ready to an election. So this is their intention. And as you know now, in Pochalla, it is only males that are remaining there. There is no women, there is no children. Children are out of the county now because of the bombardment that was sent by President Kiir. So this is what has happened.
Okay. Thank you very much, Omot, for setting the scene to us. What happened exactly in Pochalla with the Anyuak community and the government actually brutalizing them. So my understanding, Joseph Okuny has been removed from the SPLA, from SSPDF, and now he decided to stay with the community in Anyuak land instead of going to Juba. He did not go to Juba. And also, you are telling me that actually David Yao Yao, he's behind this assassination because after the replacement of Joseph Okuny with the commander, Achul Ayat, I think the name is Achul Ayat.
Yeah.
It's coming exactly to execute the plan. So, Umut, why would you think Joseph David Yao Yao would do such atrocity? What is behind? Why is he trying to do this? What is the conflict between him and the Anyuak community?
Yes, I was saying that we were taken from Jungle State to GPAA when the video was given a state. But the people who is behind the assassination of Joseph Okuny is Lakola Ahmed, the current chief administrator of Pivur. Yes, he's the one behind this. They did this because they accused Joseph Okuny of standing with the people in that demanding exit from GPA. They accused him. That is why they assassinated him and also hiding people.
So the idea behind, which is GPAA for South Sudanese who don't understand this abbreviation, is standard for Greater Pibor Administration Area. That's what it is.
Administrative area.
Yeah. So now what Umut is saying that because David Yao Yao believed that Joseph Okuny, Commander Joseph Okuny, who used to be a commander of the area, he's the reason behind actually the exit of the Pochalla area from Greater Pibor administration. So this is like a retaliation, in what had happened in the past, actually. But from our end, the government of South Sudan should not do this, because at the end of the day, the Anyuak people, the community of Anyuak, any other communities in South Sudan, they are under the government, and that's why we keep campaigning and spelling out actually the atrocity that the government actually have been committed along the community, because this regime of Salva Kiir Mayar, this is what it's known for. It's known for dividing and rule. It's known for dividing all the community along the ethnic, along the region, along the tribal. Should be condemned, as we sent a message out last week regarding this. So this is what happening exactly in Pochalla. Our people are really suffering. People of Pochalla are suffering. As my brother Omot put it, the gunship were sent from Juba to gunship, and they were chasing away, people from the area. And the the youth are the one that trying to defend their own people. So there is a confrontation as we speak right now between the youth from Anyuak with the SSPDF on the area. And it should have been the authorities in Juba, it should have interfered actually and stopped what is happening. Now, as Omot already, set the scene to us, that actually a lot of refugees, they are on the border and they are crossing to Ethiopia, to seek a refuge. This should not be condoned, and that's why we keep talking every single time that actually this government, this is what they have been doing. So Omot, right now, is there any solution giving in the idea that actually you are in communicating with the people in the area? Is there any new development that had happening for the last 24 hours? I know that you were in Pochalla and then you moved to Gambela, and now I believe you are in Ethiopia. So is there any new development in the area right now, or what is happening at this moment?
Yes, now still there is nothing good from that side of Pochalla where the incident happened. So they were trying today to evacuate the soldiers who were in the barracks. They were trying to evacuate them. Unfortunately, their own people is still fighting themselves, because those soldiers now in the barrack, they're still coming outside to loot the properties of the people who are fled to the neighbor country because of the war that erupted out. They were trying now to loot the properties, especially clothes, food, whatever. They are trying them. So the helicopter came today. Unfortunately, it didn't land. It turned back to Juba because of the war that it has found between the youth and also the soldiers. They were trying to evacuate them.
They are trying to evacuate them. So there are actually some wounded, SSPDF, from the area. So the government now are trying to evacuate them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any humanitarian assistance in the area right now, like the UN, NGOs trying to help and assist in what is happening in that area?
There is no any humanitarian that has come to assist the people of Pochalla, and also come to see what exactly has happened. There is no any humanitarian come on the ground, neither UNOMIS nor whatever. No one come over there. And exactly, we realize that, of course, we are marginalized in South Sudan. So if this thing happened, why is the government keep silent on it? And also, why are the international community don't involve in these 4 days? Exactly as I have mentioned already earlier, that the incident happened on Sunday, and we are now going to Friday, and there is no single international community or organization come on the ground to see what exactly has happened and see the people. Where are they? Are they really gone to the neighbor country, or they are still around? Except only a gunship is still moving now, bombing people who are remain in the village.
From what I've heard, when I listened actually to the spokesperson of SSPDF, they are claiming that there is a rebellion on the area. So is that something that you are hearing, or this is just a speculation from the spokesperson of SSPDF, South Sudan Defense Forces? They are saying that.
Yeah, regarding the report of spokesperson, Comrade or General Lulroy, it is very far from what exactly happened in Pochalla. I even condemned his report. he reported a very fake information about what exactly happened. While he's in South Sudan, he's supposed to call someone in Pochalla and add from him what exactly happened. His report was that it was the youth of Pochalla who came and attacked the barracks, and also they captured the barrack. But this one did not happen at all. It was the soldiers, South Sudan People Defense Force, who attacked youth, and youth didn't capture the barrack even. If the youth captured barrack, there would have no a single soldier now, brother, in Pochalla. As I speak to you now, soldiers are still there in the barrack. They're still there present. While Lulray, the spokesperson, has already spread the news on the world that the youth of Anyuak has attacked soldiers in Pochalla. That is why we have sent the gunship to evacuate the soldiers so that we put them out and the soldiers are safe. But this one is very far from true. It didn't happen.
Okay. Well, thank you, Omot. And I believe so that some people here, they wanted to weigh in. Ujulu, I did send you a link actually. And if you are able to come, if you wanted to add your perspective, you can do that. I also post the link down here. And if somebody is able, to click on that link and follow the form, then you can come here and weigh in your perspective as well. That's the only thing that I can do so far, if you wanted to weigh in. Actually, I post this topic since yesterday that actually we are going to be talking about these two main issues. The war that the government is waging on Anyuak community in Pochalla, and also the speech of President Kiir that has given today at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, and we wanted to do more analysis on that as well. So, Omot, before I let you go, I want you to send a final thought or a final message, to the people who are affected in the Anyuak land, and also to the government of South Sudan and to all South Sudanese. What do you want to see happening? I understand, our solidarity with the people of Anyuak. As I said from the beginning, this is not the first time. This government is used to divide people. It's used to create, communal violence among the South Sudanese ethnic. So I would not be surprised to use David Yao Yao to go and terrorize, people in Anyuak land, because such a thing has happened before. It happened. He used David Yao Yao against the Nuer. He used David Yao Yao against the Dinka in the Bor and, in Duke counties and so forth. It had happened in the country. All the communities have been, just divided, and violence has been created among themselves. And we have seen that over and over again. Not too long ago, 2013, an incident that had happened. We know what had happened in Malakal, in Bor, in Bantiu, and so forth. So I want you to send your last message. And then before I see that Ujula is struggling to come, but Ujula need to connect the volume, because if you connect the volume, it will be able to bring you here. So send your last message, Omot, and then we move on from here. And if you wanted to weigh in on the speech that President has given today, I will give you an opportunity before you go. Go ahead.
Yes, and my last message now, Brother Jonkor, is that, as I have told you, that we have no any problem with SPLM and our government of South Sudan. So it is the misunderstanding that happened between Achil and the community or the youth. So that brought these conflicts. So my last message now is that if it is possible for government of South Sudan to come and evacuate all soldiers who have fought our people, for them to be rotated, let the government come, take them to Juba, bring a new soldiers, so that the peace come, and the women, children, and people of Pochalla who have already fled across the border to the Ethiopia will be taken back to the country, because I don't want them to stay in Ethiopia. I have known very well that now we, the South Sudanese, are trying to repatriate the refugees who are already out of the country. And Kiir has committed a crime again for the Anyuak people to leave the country, going to neighboring country to be hosted as refugees. Well, we have been fighting for the refugees who are out of the country for more than 10 years to be repatriated. So we don't want this happen to again. In conclusion now, let the government come and take all soldiers who have fought the people in Pochalla, rotate them or took them to Juba, so bring a new soldiers so that the peace come. That is the only solution. But if they don't come and check them now, that means they need conflict to still going on, so that people of Pochalla can leave their lands, Murle comes and stay in. That is their objective.
Yeah, indeed.
And as I speak to you now, the current chief of administrative area has already sent a Murle militias to come and attack Anyuaks. They're on the way now. And maybe by tomorrow or after tomorrow, they will reach and fight people again.
Right. So, Omot, I really appreciate you coming in. And as I said, this is the first time. And also, we are looking for a solution. We don't want any other disruption to happen in the part of country. All the country is in fire anyway, because there is a fight everywhere in the country. And we hopefully, if there is any way, intervention from humanitarian assistance to assist the civilians who are really affected, and also to find a common ground with the youth and the SSPDF, so we can seize the situation that is happening now. That's something that actually we are looking into. So those who are really, left the country because of the war that is happening, so they can return back. We don't want every time, our people to leave their land and go to the neighboring country. So the very good message that we want people to know, we want the SSPDF to cease, their attack on the civilian, and also the youth from the area. I hope it would be good and wise also not to go and attack the SSPDF, because that's going to fuel the situation and create more confrontation too. We don't want that confrontation to happen, because the government, on the other hand, would be claiming that, I am actually trying to expel the rebel, as they put it, that they are the rebel that they are trying to expel. Meanwhile, they are the citizens who are affecting in this. So, Omot, I see that you wanted to say something before I let you go. You can go ahead and say it, and then I will move on from here.
Yeah. So, as I have told you, that the only solution is to come and evacuate the soldiers. Once they have also denied, the government of South Sudan is already denied that they didn't port people, they didn't attack people. It was the youth who came and attacked the South Sudan People Defense Force. And now the people of Pochalla are still waiting, struggling for the peace and justice, repatriation, evidence.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Thank you so much. I really thank you, Omot. And with that, I will put that if you want to add anything.
Yes, I want. And me. Yes, I want.
Yeah, because here, as I said, our topic tonight, we are focusing on the speech of President Kiir and the war that has been waged by him. Because when we say President waged war, because he is the commander-in-chief of the SSPDF. No one else, above the President Kiir when it comes to, all the organized forces. He's the man that will give the final order. If he say that is stop, I don't want you to fight these innocent people, then the soldier will stop, of course. And that's why we call it a war that he has waged himself, the president, because he is the man that in charge of the country. And everything that is happening under his administration. So with that, we want to talk about the speech that President Kiir has given today. And as I promised you, 3 days ago, that actually we'll be talking about this speech. And this speech actually came as we expected and as we predicted it. Actually, this is how President Kiir is going to go there, and he's going to lie more and just say all bunch of lies. And we have seen that, talking about the peace in the world, that actually the government of South Sudan is supporting the peace and he wants stability in the world. Well, how you support the peace in the world and you are creating chaos home? How are you going to support the peace? How are you going to support the stability in the region or in the world? At the same time, you are not implementing the very own peace that you have signed. So, and also President Kiir have talked about the renewable energy. It's something that laughable, that actually there is a renewable, they are for the renewable. Well, today, when you talk about the energy, we don't have any energy in South Sudan. There is no electricity in South Sudan, right? And how are you going to be talking about the renewable energy in the country, right? Have they really a plan? Have they really planned to have an energy in South Sudan, to have electricity in South Sudan? And not only that, they are talking about the environmental. and the renewable, the clean energy in South Sudan. Today, someone, working in a director or whatever, driving a big V8, and he will go and park the V8 and go just and pee on somebody's wall. This is what we are seeing in Juba. So many generators. Is that a renewable energy? So much smoke, coming in Juba or in this town. Is that a renewable energy? I thought maybe President Kiir or whoever is writing his speech for him will be reasonable. At least he will talk about things that make sense, and acknowledge, the mistake that they have committed, they have made for the last 18 years. But that's not the case. It went as we predicted exactly. And he talked about the education also on that speech. I will play it later here if people wanted to hear that speech again. And President Kiir start talking about education. And I was laughing, watching that speech, saying that actually they have, implemented the policies of education, and now 2.3 million children in South Sudan are enrolled in primary education. Is that not laughable? 2.3 that we know are the people actually in refugee camp in neighboring countries. That's what we know. I don't know. Is that what he's talking about, or he's talking about something else? Because if there is 2.3 million South Sudanese children are enrolled in education, and then why would it be for them to send their children to go to school in Kampala, in Nairobi, in the other neighboring countries who are advanced in education? Who will buy that? Actually, that's the truth. Now in Okobo, do we have primary education? Do we have kids going to school? Okay, in all this town far away, even though the town that are closer, there's a lot of children who are not going to school. So it was another, again, they were lying and talking about the health, that actually they are going to put more effort on the health sector in the country. Now you go to Juba Technical Teaching Hospital, no medicine. They don't even do, like a laboratory, to do a blood draw or to do a test. I have a patient, I have people who are sick, I took them to Juba. They were not able to get any treatment at all. I have to take them to a special clinic, some special clinic, in Juba. So again, President Kiir went there and just put in a bunch of lies. But you know what? Nothing is new. We know about this. Even in the one that he was giving his speech, they know there are a lot of reports already. And sadly, it was giving his speech in very empty, because people didn't want to come and buy. Those representatives of the countries, they didn't want to come and sit there and buy the lies that President of South Sudan is going to give. And that's why you see that it's an empty. I was wondering why SSBC would go and cut and paste the archive that has nothing to do with the President giving his speech today, to show that there are people actually were sitting there. But I watch it live. I watch it live on UNTV. I watch it live, and actually I recorded it, and I can play it here later and people can see it. So it was such an embarrassment. And when we talk about the health of the president, always saying that this president is sick, we are not mocking him. We are not mocking an old man. We have keep saying that it's not because he's old, because when you are sick, you can go and seek medical attention, because country is bigger than you. Country is bigger than anyone, and country, should be treated as something big. And if you cannot afford, and if you are mentally incapacitated, and you cannot run that affair of the country, and then yes, it required for you to retire. I've seen a lot of people, they are in rush always. When you make a comment, and when you talk about this issue, they say, oh, well, when you get old, you got to be like this. When you get old, you got to be like that. Yes, indeed, we are going to get old. But if I am old and I am able to do what I'm supposed to be doing, I have to retire and go and relax and sit in my home. That's how it's supposed to be. But to be greedy, and brutalize people, these are the results that we are seeing now. These are exactly the results that I'm seeing now. And that's why people of South Sudan need to wake up, okay? With this embarrassment that we are seeing, it's so painful for people that we have been fighting to be just and have equality and liberty and prosperity, to be represented such a way. It's so sad, and actually it will embarrass all the country, and it will be boiled down to us. Are we really sincere about our affairs? Are we really caring about this country? If we do, And then everyone will ask himself a question. Why am I not speaking up? Why am I not acting? What is the role that I can play to get this out of the way? Because we cannot be represented by someone who doesn't know what to do at all. So we are not mocking when we are talking about the health of the president, about his age. It's not a mockery. We are setting the record correct. And that's why we are saying that President Kiir must exit and retire and go home and relax. He has done more than enough. He fought for 38 years, 17 years in Anyanya 1, 21 years in liberation struggle. So what else? You can come now and resign and tell people of South Sudan, I have done what I can do in liberation struggle and go home. But this country need young blood and need people with mental capacity so they can take it to the next level. So we can have a plan. Now I have, you hear today, President Kiir was talking about seven SDG. Seriously? Have you heard today President Kiir talking about diversification of economy in the country? Have you heard that talking about the economy? I was just listening carefully, and I was thinking maybe that since they have recently the economic conference that took place in Juba, maybe it will give him a talking point. We'll be talking about that we want to diversify our economy. We will take the oil from the money and put them on agriculture so we can have food produced locally. And by doing that, our currency is going to go up and the dollar will not, we are not going to have the issue of inflation with the dollars always in our country. These are things that I was hoping to hear. But unfortunately, I was wondering, the speech writer, the guy that write, does he knows exactly what to do? Because this is all totally lie. Okay? And even when President Kiir brought a glimpse of the peace agreement, he didn't even want to talk about peace agreement. And he talked a little bit, briefly saying that actually we have just only, fast track. There is some provision that actually we are working on to be implement those provisions. Well, there is more and more and more. There's a lot of outstanding issues actually. And peace agreement to be ending up with an election. But because there is no political will, right? There is no political will. That's why there was no security arrangement. And security arrangement, actually, President Kiir today in his speech, tying it, that actually the arm embargo, actually, that the United Nations have imposed on them has impeded, has slowed them down, has slowed the progress of security arrangement. That actually is laughable too. For somebody to say that the arm embargo that is imposed of us has slowed us down from implementing the security arrangement. Do you buy that? Does people of South Sudan buy that exactly? It was a totally lie, and he went there. It was such an embarrassment, among the world, and it shouldn't happen that way at all. Again, I was hoping that they will even talk about all the violence that are happening in the country and the way forward. I was hoping that maybe I will hear something about the constitution, permanent constitution, something about, political party consultation, something about National Election Commission, something about working towards census and, and bring this country for the mess that is in. But Salva Kiir is Salva Kiir unchanged, and he's not willing to change. And I know that he's going to travel to Washington, D.C. to meet the former ambassador of the United States in South Sudan. I know that's what is going to happen. And we're still reiterating the question that we asked before, that the leader of the world, they need to confront President Kiir. What was the genesis of the fight? Why did you fight for 38 years? Why did you fight for 21 years? Oh, sorry, for total 28 years, 17 years and 21 years. Why did you fight exactly? Were you fighting for marginalized people? Were you fighting for justice, liberty, and prosperity? And if so, why such a thing are happening? You are an old man and you are sick. I know there are some old men, they can do the job, but you are mentally incapacitated, as Uncle Wendy has put it, when I could has put it, that we are mentally incapacitated. So this country should be giving to people who are really willing to bring about developmental project that will take the country to the next level. So Umut, I want you, to weigh in. I want you to add your perspective before I let you go, and then I will go for others. And I'm waiting for Dengdi Anyuak too to join us here by the clubhouse. And also Ujulu, I saw Paul Ujulu, but Paul Ujulu has a problem connecting, but he should connect the volume. I think he is not connecting the volume. That's why the device says it's not connected. So I want you to weigh in, and then I will move to Sat Dengida York on Clubhouse. Go ahead, Omot.
Okay, yeah, in regard of the speech that has given by Kiir today on the UN Security Assembly, so it was really shocked. All thing he has mentioned it, they didn't implement even 0.5% on them, especially education sector that he has said that they have enrolled 2.3 million children
Yeah.
in primary. Even in where I come from now, especially Pochalla, it has been more than 5 years now that the teachers have been paid by a single citizen from his pocket. So
Wow.
for their children to continue study. And Abraham Wallich has already also mentioned it in the live that he was did with Dr. Peter Buer and also Honorable Susan Jambo. So he said that from where he was born and grew up, he's the one paying teachers now. So from his pocket, and the same thing also in my county now, Pochalla. So teachers we have been paying by ordinary citizens from their pocket. Once. Second, they have also mentioned the early marriage. They say they have already ended early marriage in South Sudan. Okay, of course. If they ended up, why did the story of a quarter gang, let me bring it in. If they also ended up early marriage in South Sudan, why did the father of a quarter gang go shed her daughter his eye because of the marriage? If they ended up,
Good point.
and also if they enrolled 2.3 children to schools, why did fathers are still forcing their children to get married to the richest people now, especially those who are given a high position in the government now? They are the people using the children's whom their parents are not able to feed them, so they are getting married to the children's under age of 18 because of money that they have, because of the properties that they have looted from the governments. So the whole thing that Kira said in his speech today were all nonsense. It was very fake. And he also mentioned the army embargo. And the first thing that he has mentioned, he said that he stood in solidarity with the people of Libya. He stood in solidarity with other countries, while in his country here, he's not standing with the solidarity. This one, it was really shock. All
Correct.
things were very funny.
Even Omot, with those who were coming from Khartoum when the war break out in Khartoum, the ordinary citizen were the one that renting, big trucks to take people from Rang and from Rang, inside the country, like Koloj and all these things. He did not come out. He did not visit them. He did not have any sympathy with the citizen in the country. You are right. Go ahead.
It was very sad situation, for especially for our brothers. You mentioned it now. We have a South Sudanese who are freed back from Sudan when the war erupted out in Sudan, and Kiir now didn't take care of them. And he has mentioned it in his speech that he has already did everything. He has enrolled 2.3 million, and 2.3 million that he was talking about, it was very fake. These are the 2.3 million refugees who are, some are in Kenya, some are in Uganda, some are in Ethiopia, as you said earlier. So they just went there to New York. They just went there to New York to take a picture with people, see how much beautiful New York is, and meeting some other people, especially when you see William Ruto. He was meeting with some investors, as I said, of the states, while Kiir was very busy taking pictures. And this one was very shamed. So, and they have used it at $10 million for them to attend that Congress that was held in New York. So were their money gone like this? It was really something shocked my brother to see Kiir today, and he was unable to move even. He was unable to move. He was unable to give a speech. This is the time for all South Sudanese, wherever you are, to come together, stand under one umbrella as a new blood for Kiir and his people to exit. Let them go and sit. Their time is enough. We don't want them anymore.
Yeah. Omot, I really appreciate you, my brother, for coming in and adding your perspective. I want you to hang on for now. I want to go to, Paul Uchala or Paul Ojulu. That's what I saw, but it looked like you came with Paul Uchala. It's all. And Paul Ochala, I would want to hear from you. And I assume also you wanted to weigh in on the issues, the war that they have wages on Anyuak community, in Pochalla area. I understand the devastation that our people are going through. Some people now are crossing the border. Some people are wounded. Some people with no water, with no food. So this is the Salva Kiir we know. This is the regime that we know, always creating a conflict within. Not too long ago, there were huge fight in Bahar Ghazal between the Agwag and the Twi, and the Wanjang. There was real huge fight there. The same thing in Jonglei, Murle, the same Murle with the Dinka and with the Nuer in Western Equatoria. Also, people would never, fought before. They have fought it, and everywhere in the country, you saw that in Lagos State. Years and years they were fighting. So this government is survive. When people are more divided, they survive. It's all about rule and conquer and rule. That's what it is. That's what they used to do. So, Pochalla, Paul, welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. I would love to hear from you as well. Set as a scene, and then we move on from here. Go ahead, Paul Pochalla.
All right. Thank you, Jonkor. Thank you for having me again. That is my second time in your show. When this thing happened, I've been trying to get all of you, to come out there. But because, so many things and we talk, the phone come from here and there, so I did not. But yeah, I thought about you really, to come to this. When I show you today, I'm so happy that I'm glad to be join your show. So yeah, thank you. Well, the situation in Pochalla, Jonkor, we Anyuak in general, we do not respect this could happen to our people. In a million years, we did not respect ever, because sometimes when you thought of something, maybe you think that okay, something may. Yes, we know that there is so many things happening, but we are just people who are. We are not naive, but we are kind. We are welcoming. We don't have problem with anybody. Not a government. Kiir even know very, very, very well the sacrifice that Anyuak done to him. Himself knows how did he survive with all the conflict that they have between him, Galtud, a quarter term, Adalachol. If it was Anyuak, this guy should be salted. This guy should be salted anytime. Did Salva Kiir really? Did he have a sense of humanity, or a friend who did something good to him? Where he grew up, he did not have a friend in his life. And I know the culture. Somebody who did something good for you in your dark day, that's your brother. But if Kiir forgot what happened in Itang, all this time Anyuak been standing with him, and today Kiir are calling Anyuak rebel, sending gunship in never sent to any country. When the country have been taken, the land, Kenya moving in every night, Uganda moving in every night. Where are those gunship? Bombing people with. And then Baragazal are taking land. Yeah, Panto was taken. Where are those gunship? Really, we are upset. It's good to know the color of Kiir Mayardit. It's good to know. Whatever this war it will bring to Anyuak by intentionally. Everybody in that government know what is happening. It's not only now Murle. Now the government himself are involved. Because if they are involved, who order this helicopter 2 days or 3 days bombing? Because this thing could not come from somebody sitting in Bibor and say, I need 3-4 gunship to go to Pochalla. They cannot do that. First of all, this thing should be done by the higher position, the Minister of Defense or Chief of Staff. So in the Commander-in-Chief, these are 3 people can do this. Because you have to put the signature. Why? This thing you have to go there. Until today, Kiir never even say anything about this. Or he stop bombing these people. Ever. So now we know this is not only David Yawyao, not only people in Bibor. Kiir himself is the gang of this thing. So yes, our peoples that are still in the bush and they are still running for their life and are crossing, and they don't know who get there, who did not get there, because and the river now, I think you can move almost maybe 2 hours you are in the water because the river is succeeding. All those rivers are succeeding,
Mm.
So now we don't know. Do you know who get bit by his neck? Because that forest there, for those lost boy or lost girl who know that side of Anyuak, they know this time of the year is really not easy to be crossing, So yeah, maybe some of them get the cross the border, or some of them are still in the bush. The one who went other side of the right, Bomu side, and then the other one went other side of that Akobu side. So, and then the one that crossing to the middle of Teda. So now we don't know. This is all a big forest, and no Red Cross even. We don't hear any Red Cross going there looking for them. They did not. No Red Cross, and we have been asking why the Red Cross could not go to Pochalla if there is a government. Unless why they cannot send Red Cross and go take some relief or medical thing. There's nothing. So now, what is happening is this war. It should not happen. This general should not be killed in the first place. Achille came, and the guy is already retired himself. The guy retired himself, went back to civilian life because they want him to go to Bilpa, which is Juba. And he said, no, I don't want to continue in service. I'm going to be a civilian life. So he had everything to these people. And they said, I'm not going anywhere. I should be here. I could farm. I could be a farmer. I don't want to be with the military anymore. Because all this time, they cut even his salary for almost 6 months. He don't get salary. So he said, I don't need anything. So now, the guy has been there. I feel came. I feel even before I've been there. I feel been there year 2015 to 16 or 17 or 18. I should been there before. Because he be there, so he know how Pochalla sweet. Because he's there when all these years been there. So when Murle have been taking kid from on the road, going where Murle taking cow, people are giving him a report. Why you don't do this? Why your soldier cannot go look for these people? Actually not doing anything. He's enjoying his life. Actually not doing anything. Until the people.
So Achille was there before. It was the commander there before.
Yes, he was there before. Yeah, he was there before. Year 2015, 16, 17, 18. I think he was there. Until 20 or something. He's been there. So now, the people in Pochalla complain to the government. We have a hard time dealing with this guy. Our children are finished. And the people cannot go to farm. If you go to farm, you have a gun, this guy will shoot you, the Murle. So making life difficult. So that's why the government look at it, they said, okay. So that's why they bring General Lokony. So when the General Lokony came, the activity of Murle was been going on, but everything went normal because this guy take them seriously. Every time that he had there is children taken that village, he have to send soldiers there and follow these criminals, kidnapping children. So everything was being quiet. So now the people in the area, they fall in love, not because he's Anyuak's son, but because he did what he's supposed to do, which actually did not do. Right? So now, the conflict again came between the Anyuak, who was a deputy of governor of Bibor administrative area. So he want to bring somebody as a commissioner to Pochalla. But people in Pochalla say, no, we have a commissioner already here. We elect him. We like this guy. They say, no, I want to bring this guy. And the people in Pochalla say, no, we are happy with this man. We don't need your man. Then the guy there is continue until this commissioner will take away, and then they put somebody as a commissioner. So now, again, they said General Okony, he have to leave his position here to go to Juba. And then General Okony said, okay, if that's the case, I'm not going to go to Juba anymore. You know what? Take your uniform and take your whatever. I am going to be civilian life. Now, Achilo have been here for years and show up in Pochalla. He's the one replacing General Okony. Now, what is happened? Actually, this guy, he had a body guy who was a military, but he's not Anyuak, I think he's a young. So they arrest him, is the body guy of Okony, the former retired general. And then because these guys have been touching, we don't know why they've been touching this guy for, and the guy is kept. He went to Anyuak village somewhere. And they went after him, they brought him back. And again, they're keeping tossing at night, tossing him again. And then the guy is kept this time. This time, we don't know where the guy go. So they kept Okony, to General Okony house, retire in the morning, and then said, oh, we need you there. The guy said, why? And then he started shooting the guy, calling blood. Shooting the guy, not even one bullet, not two. And not only this one. After they shot the retired general, they shot another woman. And now they usually react. What is happening? And then the elder said, okay, you guys cool down. They said, you guys cool down. And then the youth come down. After the youth come down, they said, okay, now come to burying the body of the retired general. They call him. He said, no, I have nothing to do with it. They say, why? You're the one who did this. He said, no, that's your son. You bury him. So these people went bury the retired general. So in the morning, they start firing the mortar in downtown Pochalla. Achille himself. So the fire mortar, these people did not do anything. So they usually react, what is happening? So that's where the war is started. Now, it is a war that they have to bring 4 gunship because of this. So that's where they bring those 4 helicopters came and shoot, and they left. And the next morning, they came again, shoot, and it was a bad, I think it was a bad day. Till today, people don't know. Now, people in Juba, they try to talk, and then they said, okay, we want, like Omot put it, we want to bring a helicopter to come to rescue these people there, especially whether those who are wounded. These people said, okay, but let it just civilian aircraft come. Let them land to airport, not even in the barrack. So they said, well, we don't have civilian aircraft. Well, there is so many UN plane there. So these people said, okay, if there any plane come, you have to land to an airport, not in barrack. So what they did, when they hear the helicopter or whatever come, they went looting to the area. And then maybe find one person there, and then they shoot this, or that guy shoot back, and then they went to to their conduct, to their hole where they dig themselves in underground, and then they start fire motor again. So now airplane cannot learn. Airplane went back, which is supposed to bring something for them, whether medical or whatever. Nobody knows.
So now, Paul, I know you talk a lot, and actually you talk about the story of what had happened exactly between Achille and Okoin and SSPDF and the people from the area. Now, since this is a pre-plan, and that's what we can see here, you already addressed, President Kiir, that don't you know the friend you talk about the Quadatem, you talk about Gaitut, Abdullah Chwal, and all these things, how they helped the SPLA, SPLM during that time. And I know the Anyuak community are very peaceful, actually, and I watch a lot of videos, when they bless Dr. John Garant Mabior in the area, I remember in 90s, I remember in 80s, I watch all these videos, what had happened. So now, since all these things become more complicated and confused, youth are fighting, the SSPDF are fighting, David Yahya involved, and the government also is the one behind all these things. What is the message that you wanted to send clear to the government, and message that you wanted to send to South Sudanese, and message that you wanted to send to international community at this juncture? Because that's what we wanted to get out of here. People are suffering. We want to find out how the fight can be ceased and we get out of this mess. What message you wanted to send? Go ahead.
Well, my message, first of all, to South Sudanese who are listening to this, who are watching also, let them know what was done to Anyuak community and injustice. It's a crime as against humanity. So that is all is not going to be stopped there but for Anyuak alone. Maybe tomorrow it should be other community. It should be other community tomorrow. So what my message is that let we make sure if this is the country that people 2.5 million lose life for that land, let we come together and work our common goal for one idea, one South Sudan, to make it better. So to international community also, this embargo should not be left. It should not be left because there is no reason why this guy could allow, when he have a embargo and is bombing people, his own citizen, with gunship, and he have to allow this and then go buy more gun. No, that thing should not be left. That embargo should not be left.
So army embargo should not be lifted. Okay.
Yes, that's right. So to what we are trying to do now, I know that people in Juba work hard too, but we try to make these things secure. The youth don't have problem. The problem it is Achille. Achille is the one all this problem is. Because if he really want peace, even he can do it within Pochalla there. People in Pochalla want peace. If he want it, he could do it. But instead, Achille is at something we don't know what. Achille could come out tomorrow from that all there, say, look, I'm here working with his hand up to these people. Nobody going to shoot him. Because right now, the soldier, there is some soldier who come out from Achille, now they stay with the Anyuak. They stay with the Anyuak. Denka, Kotoria, Cholo, Jay, those ones are there. Even the one who were wounded have been treated with the same Anyuak, with the Anyuak who are wounded too. So why Achille could not do this? They come out and say, I don't want to do this. Anyuak cannot kill him. They will give it to the government and let the government deal with it. But Achille don't want to do this. So now, the reason why we say David Yahya is behind this, because Anyuak don't want to be a part of people. That is the problem. Why Anyuak should be forced for something that they don't want? When David Yahya last time fought, David Yahya fought because he said he was marginalized when he was an under Janguli. state. And that's why he was giving its administrative area. So why David you now have to marginalize other people when they say we don't want to work with you, we want to be alone, we want our advisor to come direct to us. Our advisor don't need to go to people. Why David Yao dictated? And then people in the government listen to him. Why? So for him, David Yao he have to respect the request of the Anyuak, that Anyuak said they don't want to live with you. Please respect that. Let Anyuak live alone. You know, and that we don't have any problem with Murle. The problem we have is that adopted children. That's what the problem we have with them. We don't have problem with them. So that's my message.
Okay.
You know.
Well, Pochalla, thank you so much, for coming in and sharing with us, the pain, and sharing with us, what people are going through in Pochalla, the communities. And thank you for message of unity too, because if we are not united, we are not going to be able, to live in peace and harmony. Because this government, some people may think sometimes, oh, people in Barkazal are living comfortably, but people in Barkazal are not living comfortably too.
No.
They are not. Because some people sometimes they think, oh, well, because he's a Dinka, maybe there are some Dinka, they are happy with it. Like now, he's affecting anyone. Dinka among themselves, they were fighting. Agar people, they were dying every day in his hometown of Gogrial. People were dying every day, So thank you for message of unity that actually people of South Sudan need to unite, because our enemy, we know who is the enemy now. The enemy is in J1. The enemy, the one that actually causing problem, taking the guns out against our own people and creating the communal violence and division, and we will send this, give this money, go and do that, go and do that, go and do that. We know. So thank you so much. And I thank you also, Omar, for adding your perspective. I think I wanted to give a chance to Sir Dengdi Ayok is in the clubhouse, and he's getting late where he is, so he can weigh in his perspective as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So I really appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir Dengdi, if you hear me, please, I want to give you that opportunity as well to weigh in your perspective. You hear me?
Thank you, Jonkur.
Yes, go ahead, Dengdi.
Indeed, it is a very sad moment for the Anyuak community and for the entire country of South Sudan.
Yes.
We feel the pain. Our hearts are so heavy. The smokes of sorrow are rising from Pochalla and from everywhere across the country. So this is the dark hour for all the South Sudanese. Sadness and sorrow have engulfed the entire nation. At this time, I would like to send my condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones, the bereaved families in Pochalla. And we do hereby stand in solidarity, and we express our sympathy for them. They are in tears and they are crying for their loved one whom they have just lost. And the war, the violence has been going on now for 5 days, and this is now the 6th day since the violence started. It started last Sunday. We are now on Friday, so it is 6 days since the violence started. I also salute the two brothers, Paul Pochalla and Omot Anyuak Otor, for coming to the show and give us the updates about the situation right now in Pochalla. the killing and death, the displacements of the innocent people from their ancestral land to a neighboring country. This is completely insane. This is irresponsible. This is not acceptable. This is against humanity. This is sinful. And we hereby condemn it in all terms, the strongest term possible. We condemn the ongoing violence, and we hold the government responsible for the ongoing violence in Pochalla, because it is the government troops that are fighting a meaningless war against a very peaceful community, against one of the most marginalized communities in the country. And so as they cry, we cry with them. As they feel pain, we do also feel the pain. But we tell them that, brothers, do not be despair, because all this mess would come to an end someday. President Kiir would not stay in power forever. Power is temporal. Once you get on the throne, your days are numbered on that throne. So nobody can stay in power forever. When you read in the history of the world, great empires, great kingdoms have come and gone. Where are they today? Where is Adolf Hitler today? Where is King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon today? Where is King Belshazzar of Babylon today? Where is Nero, the great emperor of Rome today? Where is Julius Caesar, the great emperor of Rome? So power has a limit. And once you get into power, you ought to take care of your people, not to terrorize and kill them and displace them from their own land. So what is happening in Pochalla must be condemned in the strongest term possible by all South Sudanese, inside the country and outside the country. And we must stand in solidarity with our people who are being brutalized without any cause. We have to stand in solidarity with our people who are being butchered in their own land, because somebody has to continue to be in power. So this is the message we would like to share with our people tonight. And we encourage the members of the community that they should not lose heart. One day this is going to come to an end. So this is what I would like to say to our brothers and sisters, the suffering brothers and sisters in Pibor, and particularly in Pochalla. I was in Pochalla. It's a very beautiful land. I was in Pochalla during the time of war. And although it was a time of war, the land was so beautiful. Though landmines were everywhere, but it was beautiful. And I believe it's even more beautiful now, after 30-something years. What is going on in that area is unacceptable, and it has to be condemned. Now, coming back to the speech of the President at the UN General Assembly today, or was it yesterday. I want to make some observation before I move on to make any political comments. And these observations are like, or would come in form of an advice to those who are around the president. I saw the video of the president and I listened to the speech that he had delivered. But now I want to say the observations. Number one, when the president was ushered in by the chair of the General Assembly and asked the protocol to escort him to the podium, we saw him walking towards the podium. And as he was walking, he couldn't walk properly, because we are all aware that he is sick and that it doesn't work normally. When I saw him being escorted by members of the protocol toward the podium, what came to my mind was seeing the late Robert Mugabe in 2016 moving and steadily walking in a way that was not proper toward the podium. And that one was not an image a leader, a president of South Sudan should reflect to the community of nations at the UN General Assembly. So that is number one. And my conclusion was that had the president sent one of his 5 vices, it would have been better to go and deliver a speech on his behalf. But what can we say? He had actually said that he's tired of them and he wants to get rid of them. That's why he had to go to the General Assembly by himself. But the image he had reflected is a negative image about our country. When the president was about to start reading his speech, while he was now standing on the podium, as you have seen it in the video, he looked for his eyeglasses. He could not recall where did he put his glasses. Did he put them in the inner pocket of his suit or the outside pocket? So I saw him in the video putting his hands into the inner pocket of his suit to look for the eyeglasses, and he couldn't get them. So he realized that they were inside the outer pocket, and he got them and he put them on. And when he began to read the speech, I heard him in the video clearing his throat because he was not psychologically prepared to talk. Now, when he was reading the speech, he couldn't read it properly. And as I contemplate our president while he was delivering that speech, I came to understand that he was struggling to read out the speech. Maybe the font size of that speech, which was in front of him on the podium, was too small for him to read. And we would like to ask the speech writers that please, when you write the speech of the president, make sure that the font size of the written speech is either 16 or
18.
18. Make it bigger so that the president can see. He couldn't see it properly, although he was wearing his eyeglasses. And I am told that when people get older and they go to their doctors to get eyeglasses, their eyesight is first tested. And if found weakened, then they are given eyeglasses that magnify things. Reading glasses, when you put them into your eyes, they magnify small things and make them bigger. So I was wondering whether the eyeglasses that the president was using were actually magnifying the writing on the paper for him to see properly and read properly.
It should.
We understand also that our president is getting older. We understand that the president is struggling with physical infirmities as well as mental infirmities. So what was said by General Daniel Winnicott in 2021 that Mr. President, we are physically and mentally incapacitated. Let us leave power for the new blood, the new generations, has been seen clearly as President Kiir was standing in the community of nations to deliver a speech and reflect an image for a country that we all love and a country we would like to see shining in the community of nations. So President Kiir should actually resign because his physical infirmities cannot allow him to continue as a president. And I really wonder, what are the SPLM members doing? The SPLM members, especially the senior one, should talk to the president in his capacity as also the chairman of the SPLM and ask him to step aside and go spend the rest of his life with his grandchildren, for he is no longer capable of running the affairs of the nation effectively and efficiently, as we have all seen. The picture we have seen today was an embarrassing one. On Monday, we were here with those of Maulana Mayan Dendid and we talked. We gave you a picture of what was going to happen, and exactly it happened as we said it. We knew what was going to happen. President Kiir, in his capacity as the chief diplomat, has failed to reflect a prudent image, a promising image for our country. And so the whole nation today was embarrassed because of him. In his speech, President Kiir expressed with the suffering humanity in two countries, Libya and Morocco. It is good that a leader in the community of nations expressed his solidarity with his fellow human beings around the world. But as it was said earlier by the two brothers in the studio, charity begins at home. And we all remember that when Jesus Christ asked his disciples to preach the gospel, he did not tell them to go and start preaching it in New York. He did not ask them to go and preach it in South Africa or in Antananarivo in Madagascar. He did not ask them to go and start preaching in China. But he told them to begin in Jerusalem, and then to Judea, to Samaria, and then the rest of the world. So indeed, charity begins at home. If President Kiir could express his solidarity with the suffering humanity in Libya and in Morocco, why can't he do the same thing when his citizens were displaced by the ongoing war in Khartoum? He could not even offer $1 million for the evacuations of our citizens from the hell of war in Khartoum. Instead, it is President Kiir that is waging war in the Anyuak land today, and he could not even express solidarity. It is the same president that is terrorizing the people in the villages all over the Equatoria, all over Upper Nile, all over South Sudan, in Bahr al-Ghazal. It is the same president doing that. And so his point of expressing solidarity with the suffering humanity in the two countries mentioned earlier is well taken. But what is ironic about it is that the president does not care about his own people at home. And so you have to show love to your children first before you show love to the children of your neighbor. And this one made his speech unrealistic, as we said it last week or at the beginning of this week. The president also talked about peace in the world. But at the same time, there is no peace at home. So how can you, together with the leaders of the world, talk about achieving peace in the world when you did not achieve peace in your own country? That is too unrealistic. He talked about sustainable development, and he informed the UN General Assembly that his government is working to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. But as we all follow, there is nothing as such happening in the country. Everything is broke down. Everything is not moving ahead. Whether it is education, it is not moving ahead. Whether it is health, it is not moving ahead. 3 days ago, I saw some pictures of the Yei hospital on social media. The hospital was so dilapidated and deplorable. It was not a place for human beings to stay in. Yet the president was telling the UN General Assembly that the government which he is leading is providing health services and educational services to people. Which people is he really talking about? He mentioned that there is free access to education, and that education is made as one of human rights by his government. Yet our children are still having their classrooms under the trees. Some children in some parts of the country, or most of the children in the rural country, sits under the trees and have their classrooms in an open space. And if it rains, there is no classroom that day. President Kiir has failed to build a school across South Sudan. No health services, no educations, no hospitals. There is no network of roads linking the 10 states together. And so what came in the speech of the president today in front of the world leaders was unrealistic. It was not honest as we expected. President Kiir also talked about climate change and informed the UN General Assembly that South Sudan is working hard to ensure that the planet Earth remains safe, and asked the advanced countries to reduce the emissions,
Carbon emission.
of carbon dioxide by 45%. That's what came up in the speech. What do we produce in South Sudan?
It make me laugh, Dengdi, but
South
continue.
Sudan as a country is not contributing to the emissions of carbon dioxide. We are not part of that. And so we are not contributing to any negative developments of the climate. And I really wonder why this part of climate change was part of his speech. It was not important.
He should have talked about children born in Unity State with no limbs.
Yes, because we have environmental pollution in Unity State and in Upper Nile as a whole. Children are born without limbs. Some are born dead. Some are born distorted. That is the situation we are in. President Kiir talked about the promotion of renewable energy. Instead of what we call reductions of carbon dioxide emissions. Do we have any renewable energy program in South Sudan? That was so laughable. We don't have such a program, and this government is not a government that can have such a program. So this is another unrealistic point in the speech which was delivered to the entire civilized world through that international forum in New York. President Kiir did not actually have something to tell the community of nations. He mentioned that the country has been at war with itself since 2013, and that the government has signed a revitalized peace agreement, and thus they are implementing this agreement, that this agreement would bring security and stability to the country. This is also unrealistic, because as we speak, we are all aware that the SPLMIO issued a press release a week ago in which they outline all the violations and the outstanding issues in the revitalized peace agreement. And at the same time, there is no political space open for the political forces in the country to campaign. There is only one party, there is only one candidate that is campaigning, and that is none other than President Kiir himself. The South Sudan's Opposition Alliance organized a reception ceremony to their Secretary General, but they were denied that opportunity by the National Security Service. The Parliament sat down to deliberate the 2012 elections bill, amended 2023. But the Speaker of the House insisted that the provision which gives the President powers of appointing 5% of the national MPs remains in the bill. And it was passed. against the wills of the majority and against the principles of democracy. What kind of agreement is President Kiir saying that he is implementing that it would bring peace, security, and stability in the country? It is the same president who spoke in the SPLM house. It is the same president that spoke and war songs were sang after his speech when he said that the election were to be held next year and that there was no extension. So we really wonder what peace agreement is the president implementing with his government when he actually declared war before he traveled to New York. And so this point of implementing peace and this point that his government is keen to make sure that there is peace, security, and stability and tranquility is unrealistic. It was a big deception to the world leaders. But good enough, the world leaders are aware of the type of the government that is in South Sudan. And so there is no any peace that President Kiir and his government are consolidating. President Kiir did not say much about economy, but he pointed out that there are efforts actually to stabilize the economy. And he referred to the just concluded economic national conference. This government is the government that has no economic program for the country. And even the recommendation of this national economic conference would not be implemented. And we are all there to follow this. Nothing would be done. So what President Kiir said regarding economy was just put there in the speech to tell the world leaders that he was someone working to make sure that the economy in South Sudan is revived. The economy is already in tatters and will continue to be in tatters until a real government comes to South Sudan. President Kiir also asked the UN General Assembly and the international community to leave arms embargo imposed on the government. And I agree with the two brothers who spoke earlier that the arms embargo should not be lifted because the government we have in South Sudan is not a responsible government that cares for its citizens. Instead, it is an irresponsible government that kills its own citizen. Evidently, by what is going on in Pochalla, by what has been going on all over the country. So why should this government be given a right of buying arms? Buying arms to come and kill its citizen with? It is better that this government continue with this arms embargo. It shouldn't be allowed to buy arms. So President Kiir is not a man that can restore peace and stability in South Sudan. And ironically, he talked about the restoring peace and stability in Sudan, the neighboring Sudan. Imagine, guys, a president of a country that is suffering and that has been suffering since 2013 up to date is more concerned about realizations and restorations of peace and stability in Sudan when he is about to ignite another war in his own country. And so, Brother Jonkor, as I conclude, I would like to say that what happened or what we have witnessed today in front of the UN General Assembly in New York was a drama. The speech of the president was unrealistic. It did not reflect the image of our country. And so Salva Kiir stood in front of the community of nations as a leader that was not representing the sovereignty of the people of South Sudan. He stood as a leader who embarrassed himself, as a leader who has failed, as a leader who went to just show his face in the UN General Assembly when there are a lot of problems at home. He tried to deceive the community of nations. But Mr. President forgot that we are in the 21st century. We are in the era where the entire world has become a small village. We are in the world where if people cry, their cry would be heard somewhere in the world. So it's not a world where you can deceive people. It is a world where you can be sincere and tell the truth to the people. We are not happy about the image that the president has reflected in front of the UN General Assembly. Because what was written on paper was all lie. And so President Kiir lied to the entire world in our names. We don't accept that. We condemn it. And we stand here to say that what happened today was not a representation of the people of South Sudan. It was a representation of failure. What we saw today is a failure of the regime. And what makes one happy is that the regime went to New York with a very huge delegation under the leadership of the president. And they went to showcase failure in front of the other nations. Now the whole world has seen that the regime that we have in South Sudan is a failed regime. Diplomatically, President Kiir has failed as the chief diplomat of the country because he couldn't meet with other world leaders.
Yep.
Except a few. We have been following the news. They only made a few of them. And what matters here is not meeting who. What matters is what did he discuss with them after meeting them? What did he discuss with Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana? What did he discuss with Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations? The implementation of peace agreement? The UN Secretary General is already aware of the status of the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement and does not need President Kiir to inform him about that because he had an entire mission. The mission, which is being headed by Nicholas Haysom in Juba, is writing reports, weekly reports and monthly reports about the status of the implementations of the revitalized peace agreement. International cooperation. President Kiir is not cooperative enough with the rest of the world. And our government does not even know what are the interests of South Sudan. with the other nations. It is the other nation that knows what are their interests with South Sudan. But South Sudan under President Kiir does not know what are her interests with the other nations. And so we have diplomatic missions throughout the world, and they are doing nothing. They are not getting their salaries. We have all heard him talking to the ambassador Morgan after his appointment as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that the diplomats throughout the world spend 27 months without receiving their salaries. So our diplomats are starving throughout the world. Our civil servants are not getting their salaries. Members of the organized forces, including the SSPDF, are not getting their salaries. So as we speak here, everybody is stopping, whether they are diplomats, members of the organized forces, they are all starving. Even our civil servants, they are all starving. No salaries. The economy has collapsed a long time ago. People are starving. And in Juba, people struggle to put food on table for their children. And in Juba, as we talk now, if you get one meal, if you manage to get one meal and food and put food on the table for your children, then you are lucky. Some people survive on sipping tea with some legumat, and then they spend the rest of the day with that one. Some people survive by sipping the morning tea with the chapati, and then they continue to struggle for the rest of the day until the next morning. This is the situation in our country. And so this regime has failed us in all aspects of life. And this regime needs to go. Even these elections which are going to come are not going to be free, fair, transparent, and credible, as the president said in his speech in front of the community of nations. And so what came in the speech was a total lie, not realistic at all. It was an embarrassment for the nation. It was an embarrassment for a great nation, the land of great abundance. It was an embarrassment for the people who have struggled for so long in order to set themselves free and be a nation that can be respected among the communities of the nation in the entire civilized world. But President Kiir did not reflect the image of this country. And so the leadership has failed. And the people of South Sudan have seen clearly where is the problem. And I would like to say that even the upcoming general elections is not going to be a solution, because the future of that election is very clear right now, that somebody is going to rig himself into the office. We see it clearly right now. We see that the soldiers are going to steal the vote and count them in the interest of someone. We see that war is going to break out. We do see that somebody is not going to concede the defeat if these elections are going to be free and fair. And so there is no future in elections. I'm not saying that elections are bad. Well, elections are good. But I am expressing my skepticism that these elections are not going to be free, fair, and credible, as Mr. President said. The result is very clear from now. And so what we need to do as the people of South Sudan is that we need to stand up for our freedom.
Yep.
I agree with General Oya Deng Ajak, who spoke 3 days ago that the country needs second liberations. But we don't believe that this liberation should come through guns, because he said that he was going to go to Juba with his Kalashnikov and going to mobilize the former SPLA soldiers to fight and change the regime. We believe that this regime needs to be changed peacefully. And so we call upon the people of South Sudan to take into the streets of every major city or every minor city against the regime and bring the political change that we need. We don't need the reforms, we don't need violence, but this regime can be changed peacefully. And so here we declare again the popular uprising as the only way forward against this inept, corrupt, and failed regime. We declare uprising as the way forward against the kleptocratic governments that is sitting on our shoulders, that has failed us for so long. The last years, the last 18 years of President Kiir in power are years of failure. And these are the years that would be remembered by the future generations to be the bitter years in the life of South Sudanese after their independence. 18 years in power. And in the 6 years of the interim period when Sudan was still one country, all what we net is corruption by all the SPLM leaders. After our independence, corruption and war, insecurity and displacement of our people, the death of women in the hospital as they were delivering children is the only thing that we have seen in the country. And so we have to stand up and say enough is enough. We have suffered for a very long time, and this needs to come to an end. This is the message that we would like to send out tonight to all South Sudanese inside the country and outside the country, that let us stand up together and bring down this regime. Enough is enough. We are not ready to see President Kiir sitting in the wheelchair like President Abdulaziz Bouteflika and run our own affairs on the wheelchair. We are not waiting for that one. If the SPLM leaders are waiting for that one, we are not waiting for that one. We are here ready for change. And there shall come a time when we will go back to the country and make that change and make South Sudan a great country that all our martyrs died for, to bring to all of us and to our children and to the future generations. So the speech which was delivered by the president is not sincere, it is not honest, it is not realistic. He lied to the community of nations that his government was achieving the sustainable developmental goals, and he is not doing not doing even one. That was a total lie. So let us wake up, South Sudanese. Thank you very much, Jonko.
I thank you very much, Ustaz Dengdi Anyuak, Chairman of the United Citizens for Change, for elaboration and great and credible, so phenomenal speech and a great analysis on the situation in Anyuak land, and also the speech that President Kiir has given at the United Nations General Assembly today in New York. I know it would be yesterday back home, but it's still, we are still on Thursday evening here in the United States. Yes, I was wondering what happened to economic conference that actually was the plan of the government to diversify economy from relying on the oil to agriculture and health and become more food efficient so our currency can have a value, not to have, not to be struggling with the dollars always. These are the things that actually we were interested. And the question that I'm keep asking Ustaz Dengdi Ayok, how the arm embargo impeded the security arrangement on revitalized peace agreement, because what we know, arm embargo was imposed on the government of South Sudan to prevent the fighting, to prevent the atrocity that government has committed against its own people. So I'm still, and it is still laughable for President Kiir to say, well, the arm embargo has impeded the process, has slowed them down, has interfered. Is government in Juba does not have a Kalashnikov, let's say 2,000 Kalashnikov, 3,000 Kalashnikov, 6,000 Kalashnikov? They do not have those? I believe so, they do. But they are trying to find an excuse. But as you put it, Ustaz Dengdi, the world is you know, are watching. And no one is going to buy these lies. No one is going to buy this deception. It has been using this deception on people of South Sudan for a very long time. So now is the time for South Sudanese to take that dark page and say enough is enough, as you put it clearly, that Kiir must go, and he must go now. And even though people don't see anything that happening, but people of South Sudan have that ability. These are the same people that actually they walk 3 months from all across the country, from Pochalla that are suffering and bleeding today, and from Buma, and from Torit, and from Madingawil, and from Raja. They are the same people that work actually for liberation struggle. They have that ability to do it again and remove the tyranny and remove the kleptocratic regime in Juba. We will do it peacefully through an uprising. So people of South Sudan and all the entire country can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know he has been using this political deception for a very long time. He talk about fair and credible election. How fair an election can be credible while you are not allowing your own rival to travel within the country? Riek Machar is in confinement in Juba, and they make it clear that the leaders of the IO is not allowed to travel to Wau, not allowed to go to Malakal, not allowed to go to Juba, to go to Awil, to go to Torit, to go to anywhere in the country, simply because President Kiir is fearful that it doesn't need any second man or any third man to go and talk to the people of South Sudan and have a second or third opinion about how this country can go forward. That's why President Kiir himself made a presidential decree banning the members of his own political party not to declare their candidacy for the presidency or gubernatorial or being to run for the member of National Legislative Assembly or even to become a commissioner. He banned them. How the election can be fair and transparent and free, Mr. Salva Kiir Mayadit, while you are not allowing Lama Kol, who came to the country a month ago, to have a reception with own coalition, to think about the issue in the country, how this country can go forward. How? And you are not allowing any political space, and you are not allowing any public gathering. How the election is going to be fair and transparent? How? Everybody knows about you, and we know about you. And who does not know about you, now they got to know what you stand for. You wanted to rule this country until you died. You don't care if this country can go to hell. It's not, it is not your incentive, because you made it clear that actually, what is my incentive to leave this country? I have to be a ruler of this country. So your incentive is to remain in power. You don't care that these people actually, they have the incentive is for the people of South Sudan to have a clean water, to have a hospital, to have roads, and to have a developmental project for 5 years, for 10 years, for 30 years, and so forth. It's not. Your incentive is to say, I am the president of South Sudan, and I must always remain as the president. That's what you have said. And you continue to deceive people of South Sudan and divide them along the ethnic line. We must reject this as a people of common purpose, people of common goal, because we fought together and we voted together. And that's why we have the Republic of South Sudan. I hope if there is anyone who wanted to add more perspective, I think I can take that. And then from here, we will be able to call a day. It was an embarrassment, as you put it, to President Kiir, embarrassment to the nation, embarrassment to the SPLM party. I know, I do believe that there is some good people in the SPLM party, and they need to rescue this old man so he can go home and rest in peace. They need to rescue him. They don't need to allow him walking like this, unhealthy. He is not able to represent people of South Sudan. He is not able to speak properly. He is not mentally, capable of doing this. So the SPLM party need to rescue the old man, Salva Kiir Mayar, to go home and live in peace and rest in peace there in his home. So with that, if somebody wanted to add perspective at this point, I think I will hear that third opinion, and then I will move on from here. Sadengit, back to you.
Thank you, Brother Jonkur. What happened is very clear. However, we have Ustad Manon, who is a member, chairperson of the SPLM chapter in the US. Maybe he wants to say something. I don't know what is he going to say. Maybe he would talk the same way the president talked. He's going to be unrealistic also like the president. However, we believe in freedom of speech, and therefore he is free to speak out his mind. So I think we should give him a chance, Brother Jonkur.
Okay, thank you, Ustad Dengit. We believe in freedom of speech. We don't confine, we don't intimidate our opponents or our rival. We allow them to speak so people of South Sudan can determine whether they are telling truth or they are telling lies or they are making rational points. We are unlike the chairman and the leader of the SPLM party, who confine their rival, who is not allowed them to campaign and speak up to the people. So with that, we will give the chairman or the chapter chairman of the SPLM in the United States, Ustad Manon Aleu. You are welcome. Go ahead and make your point.
Thank you. Good evening, Sas Jonkur and Sas Dengit Ayok, chairman of UCC. And also I greet everyone attending this discussion. And the topic is focused on the response on the President Kiir speech today in the United Nations General Assembly. Plus, the other issue was raised about insecurities going in Pochalla. Regarding the speech of the President, Salva Kiir, I think it's normal in democratic process that the opposition or minority will respond to any speech that being delivered by the president or the sitting president or the sitting party president. They will have a right to respond into it. Whether they respond to accept some part of of his speech being delivered.
But if we were in the country, we would not be allowed to respond, Ustad Manon. Just to make a note. Go ahead.
Or rejected the whole the speech. That's a democratic right, and there is no debate about it. But the president actually delivered today a speech in the United Nations within over 15 minutes, and focused on 5 points as all of you went over those 5 points, denying everything that was mentioned. And he talked about the health care, he talked about education, he talked about climate change, and he talked about the elections, and he talked about arm embargo. I think those are the most bulletin 5 points that President spoke about it. And we know when we come of delivering services, we know the challenges that are facing our country. We're all aware. We have a dozen of opposition, a dozen of rebellions in the country. And there's no country actually can progress or develop when there is rebellion in the country, in different regions, in different states. This is a challenge itself. But when President is speaking about progress on healthcare and progress on education, as he stated, that we enroll 2.3 million children from primary education to high school. And the policy of education free from primary to high school, that means there is no fees that can be paid. And when he talked about promoting the child education in the country and connected with the bandit of the early marriage, in our society that we know, we have a different culture and different heritage, different traditional way of life. You know, it's a process. You cannot impose it to be overnight. It's a process that will take some time, and it will be understood by society, by community, and implemented with the letter of the spirit. And it's already starting. There is a lot of cases now in South Sudan for issue of child marriage. People are being taken to the court for that reason. You know, when it comes also to education, yes, our education is not perfect like other countries that actually are peaceful and sustainable. But we have some sort of education. We cannot deny that in the country. You know, we have sort of education. It's not perfect. It's not suitable like other countries who are peaceful. You know, when the country is peaceful, it's going to focus on basic services delivery. But when the country have a huge of opposition, a huge of insecurity in the country, it's demand the resource that actually to maintain the security that we are talking all the time, that the government is not able to provide the security in the country. So I think President is speaking on those basic things and healthcare services. It cannot just be rejected that there's nothing at all in the country. It's not fair. Yes, we don't have a perfect education services in the country, but we have sort of education that we have to acknowledge that is there. If you compare before 2005 or before 2011, the level of the primary school education that we have and level of the high school that we have, it was not there. It was nothing at all before 2005. Was nothing exists in South Sudan by that time. But now there is sort of education and there's sort of improvement. When they're talking about improvement of the wages, we have seen recently the increments of raising the workforce in the country. This is obvious, even though the market cannot actually be compared to what the salary that people are getting. We know the reason why the market is not fair in terms of the salary that people are getting. But the government is doing effort to increase the salary for the workers' wage in the country. And there is some sort of increment that actually was debated recently in the country. We should acknowledge that there is increase in salaries. Over 400% increase. Therefore, you as in opposition, you have to acknowledge that there's some improvement on that side in terms of wage. Coming to climate renewable energy, it's a policy of United Nations, and it's a policy of the UN, and they are contributing to that to promote renewable energy and climate world safe for everyone. And it's not only for the South Sudan. This is a part of the policy. When you say I'm promoting it, does not mean even though if you don't have it, you are not against it, the policy of the global community war. And that's exactly what President is talking about. It doesn't mean that whether we have a new energy, renewable energy exists in South Sudan at the moment, or it will be in the near future in South Sudan. You have to make a commitment, as a member of League nation, that you are committed to that international policy of reduction of climate, emission. Coming to the issue of embargo, is connected with the recently issue that we are talking about in implementation of ARCIS. You cannot graduate the army without weapons, even the light weapons. And when you heard about the embargo, it means there's nothing can go to South Sudan, including even Mercedes. It's not allowed to go there. So what do you expect when you're demanding the government to provide the security and in the country where you are actually banning source of arming the unified force and make them well equipped in order for them to secure the country? This is a double standard. If we come to reality, you are either to release the army what they want, so they be well equipped and maintaining the security and integrity of the nation, or you have no case when you demand the security where you are banning the weapons to go to the country for the arm that actually of the country to be equipped, So I think President have a legitimate case to ask for, in terms of our embargo. Election, as we know, is connected to the ARCIS, and there's no way the ARCIS just continue extension after extension without limitation. We have to end it, and end it is mean it's ended with election. At the same time, you cannot justify that the election is rigged before even election take place. And we all agree that the election is going to be fair and free. So you will accuse the SPLM that they rigged election after they met, but you cannot predict the event even happen. Rigged by SPLM. This is unfair at all in the part of the opposition, and this is exactly what we keep holding time to the time of issue of election that is going to be rigged and all these things. And I don't think is representing any basic evidence to prove that is going to happen, actually. I think those are the things that President spoke about it. When it comes to issue of Pochalla, I think President spoke about it even during the meeting that on Tuesday when he met with members of the SPLM and the South Sudanese community leaders in New York. I was a part of that meeting. And President announced that even we are now in that meeting, there is a violence going in Pochalla, which is unfortunate for the innocent life to be lost. Our citizen in Anyuak, in Pochalla, nobody wanted them actually to be in that situation, even the president himself. But it depends on what the authority report on the ground. Exactly what happened on the ground is depend because the president is here in New York. And when he received the report, he received report based on what authority on the ground are reporting. Whether this violence is a result of political activities behind it or not, is depend of those authorities who are reporting from the area. Those who are actually local government and security agency in that area. But all of us don't want any South Sudanese citizen to be in violence and be displaced, especially in the UCC. You guys are always promoting for non-violence, and the way we heard it, it seemed like it reported that is a violence that is connected with rebellion. That's what we heard. Not on the area to prove that. It depends on what authority reported. And after they met Maybe the government will do some investigation to find out exactly what happened and how it occurred. The crisis that is in Pochalla, and we want to contain it, especially now in the rain season, where people are farming. It's unsafe for our community to be displaced at this moment. So they quickly that this situation can be contained, and so the citizens can return back to their houses or their farms. The better, than escalating the situation on the ground. So I will stop here, and this is what I need to add with the comment that came from the UCC. But let us also accept that in the end of the day, we need a South Sudan that is sustainable, peaceful, South Sudan that can accommodate all of us, and South Sudan that can be peaceful cannot exist without participation of the SPLM, without participation of UCC, and President Kiir is representing the party at the moment, and we take a responsibility because we are leading party in the country, but we're doing our best. We're doing our best level in order to maintain the security and stability of this country and move this country from transitional government that exists into the government that is people of South Sudan are elected and accountable by people of South Sudan, not government that actually combining the treaty of different parties where people are just fighting over their self-interest rather than representation of South Sudanese voices through the ballot box, where they're going to be able to account that government for whatever step that they are taking. And thank you.
Thank you, Sas Manon Jogaleo, the SPLM chapter in the United States, for coming and weighing in your perspective. Yes, we were expecting, of course, to be defending the ruling political party, the president. That's what I was expecting. But I can assure you why we are talking about the rigging election. And already what we have said from the beginning. And what's happening in the country as well. When a president is confining the peace partner, someone who they share the government, okay? I mean here Dr. Riek Machar, and you have heard on their press conference that actually our leaders is not allowed to leave. It's not allowed to go to WOW. It's not allowed to go to West Africa for own vacation. He was invited to come to New York General Assembly, but President Kiir did not allow him to come. So Dr. Lamakol was having a reception with those SAWA coalition in Juba, but it was disrupted, with the instruction of President Salva Kiir. Okay, so give me a reason to believe you the election is not going to be rigged if the president is banning people, even with your own political party, not to declare that candidacy. And if president is not allowing the rival to go and campaign and talk to the people, at least people can have a different opinion of the president that they have every day. What reason to believe that election is not going to be rigged if we are not allowed to campaign? And now you said that, yes, it's an obvious for a minority party, as you put it, or an opposition to respond for any speech of the president. But my brother Manon, if we were in Juba, I want you to be sincere. Would we be allowed to respond? There is the fairness that we are having now, the discussion that we are having now. Would we be allowed to have a political discussion somewhere if we run like, let's say, Freedom Hall or any other hall in Juba, and just have that? Would we be allowed to do so? I doubt so. So, you know exactly how the regime that you're supporting, the regime that you are part of, how they operate. So we are speaking sincere, and I want you to be genuine when you made that comment. Okay, I want you to be genuine on that. So this government is a dictatorship. And that's what it is. So when you say that, why do you believe it's going to rig? But we have seen the behavior. We have seen if you speak, you can be arrested. And there is no political space. That's a clear indication. And it's well clear that actually it's a one-man show. And if it is one-man show, and then the result is obvious. If you are preventing people to campaign, and then you need the result to be you the winner. Okay, I think I give you 1 minute, and then I will move to Dong, and then go from there. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, you keep always repeating that
Brother Jonkur,
that President Kiir abandoned the SPLM cadres for declaring themselves for election. Well, I have been correcting this. I'm saying that until now, SPLM party have not conducted a national convention, because the national convention, any party cannot go for election before they hold their national convention, because national convention is one who going to endorse or elect who will be the running for the black bear of the SPLM party at upcoming election in 2024. These things have not took place yet. What have took place so far is an endorsement through regional SPLM grassroots members, delegates. We saw in Barakazar region, a similar situation in Equatorial region, similar situation will happen.
Please close your mic.
Similar situation will happen also in Aparna regions. But the really campaign for the SPLM is yet to start, because the convention is not yet. So the president was right when he banded some members within the party who have some move or attitude or behavior to make it like it is a time for anyone to declare himself that is running for the governorship or another position in the party. But the party is not yet hold a national convention to allow that to happen by delegate of members that will be coming from the congresses at the grassroots. So when you say that president is abandoned people not run for commissioner and for the governorship or for the members of parliament, I don't think it's true, because the party is yet to actually to declare the process and procedures of candidates in the first place, including even President Kiir. Including President Kiir. Endorsement does not mean the party elected within the convention. It's different for the party to elect you in convention or as a flag bearer, and people to endorse you regionally as a leader. So I think that's the only process that is taking place. When it comes to the freedom of speech in the country, we see in the SPLM, I will hold their conferences in Juba. Nobody obstruct them. Other political parties hold their own press conferences. Nobody obstruct them or object them not to talk. As long as you are talking in political space, limited, something that is not promoting the violence or promoting the rebellion, I think people are free in Juba to speak. And everybody is in Juba or political organization, they have right to speak. There's nobody stop them.
Ustaz Kwelagur was not promoting the violence. Ustaz Kwelagur was not promoting the violence or rebellion, and he was arrested.
Kwelagur is connected with some element here in diaspora that actually something called red card. The red card was actually to overthrow the government.
But they are not violent. Peaceful.
Overthrow of government through uprising or through military use is not going. Government is not going just to sit down and watch it. Any government, even in the United States, just declare today that you want to throw the government in invention. You see what they're going to deal with you. Those are facts. We have to accept it. Yeah? We have to accept it. Even America here, if some state declare today that they rebel, you will see they will deal with them. They will deal with them.
The protests are allowed in the United States.
They will not throw them, a tufa or mango. No. They will use whatever they mean to maintain this type of rebellion in this state. So sometimes we have to to differentiate freedom of speech and some people who want actually to create insecurity in the country or the violence in the country. So I think freedom of speech exists in the country, and there's a lot of political activity in the country. We know it. Thank you.
Yeah, Manon, we gave you a chance to speak up your mind, knowing that you were going to be unrealistic. And indeed, you are unrealistic in whatever you said. And let me tell you this, you cannot refute the reality, you cannot refute the truth. But what I see you doing is that you are attempting to refute the truth, and you are attempting adamantly to tell us that we are doing our best. We haven't seen you doing your best since 2005 until now. There is no best you are doing. This is another deception from you in your capacity as SPLM chapter chairperson in the USA. Now, I would like to respond to the point you raised one by one. Your argument on education. There is no education system in place as I speak to you, Mr. SPLM chapter chairperson in the US. There is no education system in place. Let's talk about the school syllabus. The school syllabus we have right now in South Sudan, if you get the school syllabus and look to it, it is not printed by the Minister of Education. It is printed by either UK Aid or Global Partnership or USA or any other organizations. That's one. Secondly, if you look at the content of the school syllabus in South Sudan or the curriculum in South Sudan, it is very poor. There is no science, there is no knowledge in it for the children of South Sudan to learn. So the foundation laid when this curriculum was set up is a very weak foundation. And as we speak, there is no proper education in South Sudan. You cannot tell us how many schools did you build since 2005 until now. How many schools did you build in the 10 states plus the 3 administrative areas, Mr. SPLM chapter chairperson? Can you tell us the number, the total number of schools you have built? So that your argument is something taken seriously. How many schools did you build? How many hospitals did you build? Because you talked about healthcare. How many hospitals did you build in the 10 states plus the 3 administrative areas? You need to give us statistics. Let us be serious about these issues. Because you cannot come and defend your failed regime and your failed SPLM chairperson in his capacity as the leader of your party and also in his capacity as the leader of the country. So there is no education in place. I told you earlier that children are still seated under the trees. What is your response to that one? Increment of salaries. Yes, there was an issue of increment of salaries in the parliament recently. But the Minister of Finance said a statement. You did not talk about that statement. What did he say? He said that our financial capacity as a country is low. Therefore, we cannot increase the salaries of the civil servant to 400%. He wrote a letter to the parliament and the letter was circulated on social media. And I believe you have seen that letter. So how come you tell us that there is an increment of the salaries? And as we speak, people are starving the civil servants. The president admitted in his speech to the Minister Morgan, Minister of Foreign Affairs, that the diplomat outside the country spend 27 months without their salaries. And then you come and tell us that there are salaries? You should be realistic, Mr. SPLM chapter chairperson in the US. You should be realistic and you should be following the issues that are happening in the country closely. And when you come and argue with us, you argue based on facts, not based on just trying to tell the public that you are there and that you are trying your best. I don't see any best you're trying to do for the people of South Sudan. All you are doing is taking this country backward. The RRC's implementation and the arms embargo you talked about, the implementations of the revitalized peace agreement is not going. It's not going as it should. You are not honest enough in the implementations of the agreement. President Kiir made a lot of statements, and one of his famous statements is that the agreement was not designed to be implemented. And you know that one. And then you come and tell us that the agreement is being implemented. Honorable Michael Makui, the spokesperson of the government, was arguing 2 weeks ago that even the CPA that brought the independence of this country, there are provisions which are still outstanding until this day. That was an argument to tell the people of South Sudan that the RRCs cannot be implemented fully like the CPA. That is the mentality of the SPLM government. So you are not serious in regard to the implementations of the agreement. When it comes to the issue of arms embargo, we are very clear on that. We said the government should not be allowed to purchase weapons because those weapons would be used against the people of South Sudan as people are dying right now in Pochalla and as people are dying elsewhere in the country. So why should an irresponsible government be allowed to purchase weapons to come and destroy the country? It was for this reason that the international community imposed sanctions on the government because they have realized that it is an irresponsible government that is killing its own people. So we are with the international community not to lift the sanctions of the arms embargo imposed on the government. Please be realistic when you come to this forum. We are not here joking. We are here into the real business about the nation. And we talk with honesty. Political hypocrisy has no place on this forum, Mr. SPLM chapter chairperson in the US. Now, you're talking about elections. I do believe that these elections are going to be fraudulent. The result of the election is clear right now. Because other political forces are not allowed to have political activism. They are not allowed to hold rallies. No one is allowed to speak in the country. What kind of country is this? And then you say there is going to be free and fair election? This is a joke. This is a complete joke.
It is an insult to democracy.
Yes, there is no democracy. Because democracy is not conducting elections alone. Democracy means opening up the civic and political space for the civil society members to be active, to talk, for the political leaders, political parties to speak and campaign. It means that you in the SPLM-IG, you are completely afraid of the election. That's why you are shutting down the mouths of everybody in the country not to speak. Dr. Machar today spoke in Juba. And for the first time, he spoke about his detention in Juba. He admitted it publicly. Go to iRadio. You will get it there. He said that he is stuck in Juba. Who made him stuck in Juba? The president. The partner that signed the agreement with him. So when you talk about elections, make sure that people are allowed to express their opinion people are allowed to be politically active and campaign for the election. Why are you afraid? You are afraid to lose power. That's why you are not allowing people to speak. But let me tell you this. When people reach the point of tiredness, this country will witness a very bloody environment, which we don't want to see. This is what the president is doing. This is what you are doing in the SPLMIG. Allow people to speak. Allow the civil society to be active. Allow everybody to participate. This country is not for you alone, guys. This country is for everyone. I have to cut it short here because there are others. We have Dong and we have David and Don. They have to speak also.
Yes, thank you, Sas Dengdit. I think for being fair, I will give Don and Bill, General Bill, later. They are the last two speakers. But for now, for fairness, I want to give Manon that opportunity before we move on. And Manon, just really quick, because we stayed more than what we supposed, actually. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to be quick. Thank you, Junker again. First of all, I'm not going to go answer all the response of Dengida Yogi, but he asked me about the numbers of a school. You can see yourself the number of school of can feed of 2.3 million. This is a lot of number of students, and those 2.3 million students, they have schools that they go to, and those are the schools actually are developed within the same government that is running now in South Sudan, national unity government. So when you ask how many schools you build as a government, the numbers of students that are actually enrolled justify the numbers of schools that are built. You know, so that's what I would respond into it. And freedom of speech is not being actually rejected. All political parties. I don't think the election would take place without rallies, without participation of all political parties in the country. And I don't think SPLM also is fearing from any losing election or seeing any genuine opposition that actually will take over the victory in election upcoming 2024. But the issue here, most of the opposition actually are fearing from election itself because they know their weight when it comes to election. Some of them will lose the election severely because majority of the parties now, they are getting the cake through the bullet of gun, which is the agreements. That's why they are in the power. That's why they are in the shared government, shared cake. But if we go for election later on, some of them will lose the power. And they have reason to be worried about it. But I don't think election will take place without Riek Machar campaign in Bentiu, campaign in Awil, campaign in Boreal, campaign in Wow, campaign in all these places. Machar will move around. Dengida Ayog also will have his space to move around. But what I know, when you lose the election, you have to acknowledge. You have to admit that you lost. Don't say that the election was being rigged by SPLM. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manon. And with that, I want to go to Ustaz Dong. Ustaz Dong, please briefly, because I want to go to David, and then David will talk, and then we can come and then conclude here with Ustaz Dengit. Go ahead, Dong. You have been waiting for a long time. Further.
It's okay, no problem. Thank you, Benjonkur and Ustaz Dengit Ayog and General David Biel, Manon, and the rest. So I listened to the. To be honest with all of you, I don't like to listen to Salva Kiir speeches. I only like to. I can listen to a summary or somebody speaking about it, but it becomes too embarrassing and it's too much. Yeah, it's too much. So, but I heard your summary on the speech. And then what I found was that it's very embarrassing for the president of the country to speak at the UN General Assembly about lifting the arms embargo while he's massacring our own citizens in Jonglei in Pochalla County. So that's a shame to the. I think John Kuri, I think your mic is on.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, it's embarrassing for the They should be embarrassed, should be ashamed of themselves for asking for the arms embargo to be lifted while they're massacring our own civilians. And, I just wanted to express my condolences to the people of the Anyuak Kingdom and Pochalla County for what happened. And also, yeah, I wanted to mention that I just wanted to respond to the issue of implementation, and especially in regards to the president's speech and what Manon was saying. And he's living in the United States, enjoying democracy, while he's defending dictatorship back home. So it's that's very unfortunate. And the government has clearly failed to implement the agreement since 2018, and it's always been the SPLM that's been the violator of the agreement and the one who's failed to implement the agreement. You have a president that has failed to unify the forces and is against a unified national army and all other regular forces in the country. So how does he claim to be president of a country when he's doing that? And another thing I'd like to mention is, in addition to what Anyuak was saying, was about their failure to develop the country in 18 years. And in 2004, when SPLM came to power, that the SPLM strategic framework from war to peace transition. That's the document that was created under the leadership of John Garang, which is basically a development plan for the country to reconstruct the country, roads, bridges, agriculture, and everything. But what happened? When did they never implemented that at all? That document was never implemented up to now. And then in 2011 we had the SPLM, South Sudan Development Plan, 2011 to 2025 or something like that. Never implemented. It was updated recently, a few years ago. Up to now, no implementation. Not a single highway in the country. Not a single highway to Baragazal or Upper Nile or Equatoria. Not a single bridge on the Nile. Not a single agricultural scheme up to now. And then they claim to want to rule us beyond 18 years. What do they have to offer after 18 years? So I'm just going to end here, and I just want to say that SPLM members, as individuals and as party members, they need to question the integrity and their principles as human beings, as individuals. Personally, and I'm saying this personally to each and every SPLM member, they need to question themselves. What are they supporting for the country? 18 years of incompetence. And then somebody's coming here, sitting in the United States, enjoying democracy while he's defending authoritarian dictatorship for his relatives back home. And poor leadership, poor governance, and the failure to provide peace, security, and development. Yeah, it's very. I'm very frustrated, So I'll close my mic here, and then let's hear from General David Biel.
Thank you so much, Dong, for your perspective. It's really touching. I really appreciate it for coming on. With that, actually, I wanted to give opportunity to General David Biel to weigh in as well. General David Biel, you have heard us. We talk about the Anyuak violence that is taking place and the speech of the president. So we want to give you an opportunity to weigh in. Go ahead. Fadal.
Okay, thank you so much for the Jonkor, Ustaz Dendi Dayok, Dong, Pona Manon, Don. أنا بشكركم الناس الكل الموجودين في الروم. أنا شخصيا أنا شفت خطابة الرئيس لما كان قاعد يلقيه وركز كثير على تعليم دون ما يخط في اعتبار تحليل البيئة كدارس يعني كزول رئيس بتاع الدولة. أول حاجة ما قال حاجة عن المعلمين، الناس اللي بيقوموا بالتربية بتاع الطلبة. وده واحد من المشاكل يعني ما اتكلم عنها. الاوضاع بتاع المعلم في جنوب السودان ما اتذكر حاجه، ما اتكلم عن اوضاع بتاع بيئه المدرسيه. الطلبه اللي قاعدين يدرسوا البيئه المدرسيه اللي هم اللي قاعدين ياخذوا ما قاعد اتكلم عنه. داخل الطلب دين في مجموعتين، في مجموعه ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصه، ناس ممكن عندهم حاجات في اجسامهم ما اتكلم حاجه عنه. اوكي، وزاد ما اتكلم عن منهج بتاع التربيه، الكريكولم بتاع التربيه والكريكولم بتاع التعليم. في فرق بين المنهج التربيه والمنهج بتاع التعليم. ما اتذكر حاجه عنه. ما اتكلم عن العاديات بتاع التعليم ذاته، تعليمنا ما عنده عاديات. وما اتذكر انه المنظمات الممكن بيشارك وزاره التربيه والتعليم الان في جنوب السودان يعطوا منظمه. انا عارف انه وزاره التربيه والتعليم الان قاعد تتحكم فيها منظمه اسمه لومتيت للطفوله يونيسيف. ما ركز كمان حتى التشريعات المتعلق بالتعليم ما قال حاجه، وحتى السياسات الخاص بالتربيه والتعليم ما قال حاجه. فلما تجي في تحليل البيئه الخارجيه في منظومه التربيه والتعليم يعني ما اتذكر حاجه كده مفهومه. وركز على اننا عملنا بجت كبير جدا لوزاره التربيه والتعليم. لكن لو سالنا نفسنا هل فعلا الان قاعد يقود السيد الرئيس قاعد يقود في اعتباره يعني المتعلمين والاكاديميين القرارات اللي بيتخذها الان عندهم سند معرفي ممكن عشان تقدر تتحول الدوله من الاميه للتربيه والتعليم؟ طيب ما اتذكر حاجه اسمه العلاقه الاقتصاديه مع وزاره التربيه والتعليم. انت الجوانب الاقتصاديه في التربيه والتعليم ذاته شنو يعني؟ ما اتذكره. انا بتذكر انه اي تعليم يا اخوانا عنده علاقه باقتصاد، والتعليم كمان عنده علاقه بالسياسه، لان انت بتدرس قيم ومرتكزات اساسيه من خلالهم ممكن بتمشي بيه قدام كطالب. من منظور القانوني التربيه والتعليم من منظور القانوني ما اتذكر حاجه. حتى من منظور التاريخي جنوب السودان الان ما عنده تاريخ ممكن اتكلم عنه انه كطالب ولا ما عندنا تاريخ، ما عندنا جغرافيا، وده حاجات بخصنا في بلد اسمه جنوب السودان. الرئيس ما ذكر. وبعدين لما تجي تتكلم عن الهندسه العقليه ذاتها وبناء معرفه، هندسه نفسيه وهندسه وجدانيه للطلبه والمعلمين
يا جماعه ده جنرال ديفيد بيل معلش.
نعم.
يا جماعه انا بيعتذر للجميع، انا ما عندنا اي سبيكر ثاني، انا بدون فرصه. سو كلاب هاوس از كان مس ا ليتل بيت توداي، عشان كده هسه الزول بيجي فوق انا بيعملوا ريموف. انا ما عندي بutton اللي بيقول ريموف انا موف تو اودينس، انا بيعمل ريموف لزول طوالي. فاي هوب ما يزعلوا بعدين يقول ليه جونكور قاعد يعمل لي ريموف من الروم. سو ما عندنا زول ثاني افتر جنرال ديفيد بيل. بليز دونت كم اب. تفضل جنرال ديفيد بيل.
اوكي، هنا حاجه اسمه الهندسه الثقافيه، سلوك بتاع طلبه وسلوك بتاع معلمين كدوله. هل فعلا انت هسه المعلم عنده سلوك معين والطالب عنده سلوك، وسلوكهم الاثنين بيجتمعوا وين؟ في حاجه اسمها التفكير الابداعي. لما الطلبه هسه عندهم تفكير ابداعي ممكن بيعملوا مهارات، انه مهارات يعني في حاله بتاع التدقيق. لما تعرف انه الطالب ده عنده امكانيات ممكن يخلق حاجه من خلال نفسه، انت بتشجعه بشنو؟ هل عندنا مهارات تقنيه الان الطالب ده ممكن الدوله قاعده توفر له عليه عشان يقدر يكون عنده مهارات يعني زي الكمبيوتر، العقل الجمعي للطلبه والمعلمين؟ هل فعلا في النواحي الوطنيه الان؟ انا شفت جامعه جوبا الناس بيمشوا بالشاكل وداخل الغابه قبائل وبيخشوا بيوت. هل العقل الجماعي بنظام بتاع التعليم اللي بيخلي الطلبه يشوفوا نفسهم جسم واحد موجود؟ في قضايا ممكن بيخلينا نتكلم عن التربية والتعليم. أولا المجتمعات الآن اختلف، بقى مجتمعات إلكترونية، اقتصاد إلكتروني، في تجارة إلكتروني، في تعليم إلكتروني، في صحة إلكتروني، في إعلام إلكتروني. ده بخلينا نركز في قضايا بتاع التعليم، نحن بتحول أكبر من ده. لكن هل فعلا عندنا إحساس الآن أننا ممكن نمشي العدد الموحل الآن من خلال التعليم ده ذاته بالكم وبمستوياته لتحقيق مصالح والقيادة الوطنية قدر شنو؟ السيد الرئيس ما قد يذكره. أنا شخصيا أنا قاعد نعمل إنه أي تقدم بتاع الدولة يا أخوانا بتيجي من خلال التعليم والناس المؤهلين، والتعليم من دور في التقدم بتاع البلاد. لكن إذا رجعنا وقارنا النظام بتاع التعليم في جنوب السودان وذكر إنه وزارة التربية عندها استراتيجية شاملة عشان التعليم تكون مجان، وهم ذاتهم منعوا حاجة اسمها الزواج المبكر. قضايا يعني شايفه ما موجود أصلا. أنا هنا انتهاكات حصل في جنوب السودان، حتى البيت الصغير اللي هناك قال له عيون ده عشان الناس رفضت. ليه حسب ما سمينا إنه الزول الأب اللي عمل خلانا ما قدموا محكمة. ففي إشكالات كبيرة جدا إننا مستغربين. إما قضايا بتاع أنيوك، أنا زي ما أخوي دون قال كلام مهم، نتمنى إنه الحكومة ما يضرب مواطنين بالطائرات. لأن ديل ما جانب ولا ده خروج كنت بتولن فيها بالطائرات. لكن الحاجة أنا عرفت إنه بيك ما في إمكانية ذاته للجيش عشان يقدر يعرف قبائل ويعرف مواطنين. الآن الجيش ما يقدر يعرف، لكن الآن يستخدم طائرات عشان يقدر وكلام ما منطقي. الآن البرلمان طلب إنه يطالب وزير الدفاع ويطالب عشان يقدر يجي وضع للبرلمان اللي بتمشي تضرب المواطنين وكلام في غاية الأسف. عشان كده نتراهم على أرواح بتاع الناس اللي ماتت وحتى الجرحى ربنا يشفيهم. وأنا بضيف لأن كلام كتير ما زين نتكلم عنه. السيد الرئيس ما أتذكر حاجات عن تنفيذ اتفاقية سلام وصل وين، سنة كامل road map no anywhere, not implementing everything. يعني قال لنا we are ready for election. Election ده ما is the last step في تنفيذ بتاع agreement. فأنت 200 يعني أنت بتقدر تغش الناس وتغش مجتمع الدولة، ولا هم عارفين ما هم عندهم منظمات وعندهم سفارات وعندهم وكالات محلية في جوبا عارفين إنه نحن وصلنا وين في الأجريمنت. أنت بتتكلم كلام ما منطقي. عشان كده نحن قاعدين نشوف إنه حكومة هنا في الجنوب عندها عزلة. الآن حتى بايدن ما قدر يقابله، حتى وزير خارجية ما قابله، يعني assistant secretary of state even also ما قابله، ماشي يدوم موظف صغير عشان يقابل الفقير والسفير الأمريكي بتاع جوبا. وده عزلة نحن قاعدين نعاني منها. عشان كده نحن في حوجة سياسة خارجية جيد وتقدر تقدمك وتقدر تتعامل مع المنظمات الدولية. يعني فبدون تعاملك مع منظمات دولية أنت بيكون محزون. وعام امبارجو ما أجندة، لأن في أسباب خلى العام امبارجو يعملوا زول فرض عام امبارجو ده ما دام ده اسمه US government. US government أنت ما ممكن تعمل خاطب في جميع عملهم، أنت بتخاطبها كحكومة قائمة بالذات. إذا كان بايدن قبل إنه يعني قابل الفقير ده المحل اللي ممكن يتناقشوا فيه قضايا بتاع عام امبارجو، لكن أنت تناقش عام امبارجو في أمتين ولو أمتين منفذ قرار بتاع حكومة أمريكية. فأنت ما ممكن تتكلم مع زول يعني ما طرف في العام امبارجو ولكن قاعد ينفذ في القانون. لأن لما تصدر قانون إنه الدولة ده بيبقى من أول ما يشتري سلاح، لو طبعا بينفذ قرارات بتاع الدول. ومن خلال ده أنت ما ممكن تمشي تتكلم بعام امبارجو، وأنت عام امبارجو ده اللي أو خلى الجيش ما يعمل deployment ما منطقي. حتى لو تيدا عند النص ممكن انت لو داير سلاح للجيش متخرج بيران ممكن تخاطبوا تيدا يدوك سلاح مع الناس اللي انت مخرجهم وبعدها تعملهم ديبلويمنت. الاشكال عدم جديه ممكن بتقود لمراحل ما يهو. انا بجيبنا شكرا جزيلا. انا لو فزول انا حبشت يا اخوانا بيعتذر له. شكرا جزيلا. ربنا مبارككم في غرفه بتاعكم التمام ده.
شكرا شكرا جنرال ديفيد بيل. كلام جميل جدا جدا. ويس كلامك صح. حتى ولو حكومه دايره سلاح بس من الامم المتحده عشان يخرج ولا عشان يعمل deployment they can do it. It's just because there is no political will. They don't want to implement it actually. لأنه رئيس سلفا كير قال الكلام ده بالوضوح إنه this peace agreement those who engineered it it was engineered not to be implemented. At the same time رئيس ذاته في بعد signing this peace agreement في September 12 2018 هو قال اتفاقية أديس أبابا احنا كنا مجبورين يعني قال احنا كان جبرونا يعني احنا كنا مجبورين اما الاتفاقية اللي مضيناها في خرطوم ده this is what we want actually. So it's very contradictory. With that, I think we wanted to conclude. We spent more than now we are at 3 hours, which is a decent time to spend discussing the war that actually has been waged on Anyuak community in Pochalla and the speech of President Salva Kiir today at the United Nations General Assembly. Thank you for being part of concerned citizen of South Sudan always. Ustaz Dengid, I want you to conclude, and with that, I think I did not close the Facebook today because I want everything that been said on the clubhouse to be recorded here because the room actually was not, replay on. But I am glad that it's okay. Everything is in the Facebook. And actually the turnout was so huge today, 457. That is a lot, giving the importance of the issues. That's why South Sudanese, they turn out in a huge number today here on Facebook. So to watch and listen what we have been talking about. So Dengit, please, the last word, and then we close from here. Go ahead.
Yeah, the speech of the president to the UN General Assembly is unrealistic. It did not reflect. When we say it is unrealistic, we mean what is in the speech is not matching with the reality on the ground in the country. So it is an hypocritic speech. This is one. Two, President Kiir should resign. If he cannot resign, the people of South Sudan should show him the door. This is a message we are sending to our people today. Finally, all South Sudanese are speaking with one voice. I read a lot of statements that one of the revived South Sudan party, the statement by the National Consensus Forum. I read a lot of statements, and all South Sudanese in those statements and in other forums on Clubhouse here are all saying the same thing. So there is unity now in terms of message. There is political unity in terms of what we want for this country. And so we urge ourselves that let us continue in the same spirit, and the change we want to see in our country will come through us. So let's continue to work together to bring the new down for our country, a new political dispensation that shall serve our people from their current impoverished situation, from their current doom, their current mess, and their current misery, which is imposed on them by the SPLM regime and by President Kiir himself. Thank you. I salute all of you.
Thank you so much, and have a good night.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Majesty